Hola a todos, I'm Carlos Rocha. I'm the studio head of Dreams Uncorporated and the SYCK team. And we're really hard at work here in Colombia, making a really awesome experience for all of you guys. And we're really excited about everything that you guys have told us, how excited you are for the game, how excited you were for the demo. And we really want to share a lot more information with you guys. So I'll leave that to Derek, who's the producer back at Modus Games, who's our publisher. Because we really need to get back to work to be making that awesome experience that you're all going to enjoy. So, buena suerte and bye-bye.
Hi everybody, I'm Derek Neal. I'm the executive producer on Cris Tales at Modus Games. And as you guys probably saw, we just released a public demo of this game and we were completely blown away by the positive reception that it got. Thank you guys so much for all of the support, the thoughts and questions that have come in, the activity on our Discord server and Twitter. We really appreciate it. Of course, this was just a demo. It's about 45-minute introductory experience. There's a lot more to come though, and a lot of cool things we're planning for this game that we haven't gotten a chance to talk about yet. So I'd like to take this opportunity to talk about some of those things with you and also go over some of the feedback we got from the demo and what our plans are to change some of it based on that feedback. So let's get into it. So first, let's talk about some numbers. We made what we thought would be a 45-minute introductory experience, and for the sort of average player, it did take about that. I think the average amount of time played in the game was about 50 minutes. But actually, there were a lot of people that spent 2-3 hours in the game, and that really blew us away. Turns out that a lot of people just wanted to wander all over the place, look at all of the beautiful art, check out how the characters and the buildings and the world change across past, present, and future. And that was really humbling. It really showed us that we were on the right direction and that people really cared and were passionate about the product that we were trying to put together. Another thing that we asked is how people would rate the experience overall. On a scale out of 1 to 10, how good did you think this was, and how good do you think the final product is going to be? And again, we were blown away by the reaction. As you can see, it was mostly 8s, 9s, and 10s, and the average score was a little over 8.5 out of 10. Which, for a demo that we had just put out at the launch of this game and still tons of work and polish and love to go into it, also completely blew us away. The other thing that was really interesting about it is how many of you, basically all of you, said that you would want to recommend this game to a friend. More than 9 out of 10 of you came back to say that this is something that they would like to recommend, and again, we were blown away by that. Okay, so now let's dive into some of the specifics, things you guys liked, things you guys had some feedback on. So first of all, things that people said they loved, the art. That was far and away one of the most commented things, and we totally agree. It's all hand-drawn, it's breathtaking, and we're glad you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. Another thing that people mentioned they liked a lot was the combat. The timing-based systems that are kind of reminiscent of Paper Mario, Legend of Dragoon, games like that. The turn-based classic Japanese RPG combat, people seem to be very fond of. The time mechanics are another thing that people said that they really liked, that they enjoyed being able to walk around and see how everything changed and solve puzzles using the different parts of the timeline. Also very exciting. Another thing a lot of people called out was the music. And actually there were 2 different composers that worked on this game. The one who did the main theme for the town of Narim, that was Norihiko Hibino-san. And then all the rest of the music was done by a person who's better known as Composer in the Mario Maker community. And he's been doing music for ROM hacks and indie games and things like that for a while now. And he did an absolutely fantastic job with all of this. And one last thing that people called out as something they really liked were the character designs. And this is a place where Carlos and his team were really heavily inspired by their Colombian heritage, taking all of the colors and the patterns and the fabrics of the land of Colombia, the central cities to the coastal regions, and working all of those themes into all of the characters that are all over the towns and all over the world, giving each of them their own backgrounds, their own stories that you can see as you run past them and see how they change in the past, the present, and the future. Another thing that some of you have brought to our attention is that there are some errors with the way some of the voice work has been implemented. So for example, at the end of the demo, there's a line where Farmer Robert says, "Industrialization project."
You wanted this land for your industrialization project.
And it sounds very strange. We're going to get that re-recorded. There's also a couple of areas where the audio balancing isn't right, it's too quiet or too loud. And then there's actually some areas where the voiceover lines don't start quickly enough. That's because there's some unnecessary dead space at the start of those lines that we'll be cutting out and get those all together so that it works correctly in the final version. Of course, we want to make sure everyone can have an experience with the game that they enjoy, so we're going to include a settings menu that has the ability to turn on and off all sorts of options, including the voices, the music, the sound effects, and more. One final thing in this area to talk about is the combat. While a lot of people said how much they liked it, they like the timing systems and how it's similar to old school JRPGs, some people did say that it seemed fairly simple. And that's sort of interesting for us because we have a lot of very complex things planned for it in the future, some of which I'd like to share with you now. So for example, you may have noticed that in the demo, there's a bar at the top of the screen that shows the turn order of all of the enemies and all of your characters. Well, that's something, as this is a game that is about manipulating time, that's actually something that you're expected to be able to play around with in the future. And this opens up a lot of interesting possibilities, not just moving people around so that they can act faster or slower, but also actually manipulating time. For example, if you've been injured and you want to heal that character, maybe you send them back in time to before they took damage. Or if someone's been poisoned and you want to kill them faster, send them forward in time to a point where they've already taken a bunch of poison damage. Similarly, you can do things with ice status effects. If someone's frozen and he's about to recover and about to wake up, send him back in time to when the status effect was fresher and he's going to be frozen for even longer. There's actually a lot of strategy that's added by the ability to mess with the turn order and also all the strange ways it can interact with status effects.
How clever!
But the truth is, even that is just the tip of the iceberg for what we have planned for the combat. Another thing that we plan to implement are team attacks between the different characters. And this is very similar to the tech system from Chrono Trigger, things like that. Depending on who you have in your party, you'll have access to different team attacks that use their special powers. And so crafting your party and making use of those attacks is another key part of the strategy. Finally, each character has their own special gimmicks, their own special abilities that interact with time, with the battlefield, and with other characters in interesting ways. Of course, there's a ton more to talk about with this particular game, and if I could, I would stand here and tell you guys about it all day long. But unfortunately, we do have to save something for the future. Well, one of those things we're going to be talking about in the future is the story of the game. We do have some very complicated story with a lot of twists and turns, and we're really excited to be able to share that with you guys in the coming weeks and months. If you'd like to get updates about that, more general updates about development, please follow us on social media, join our Discord server, and if you do join us on Discord or if you have a Reddit account, you'll also be able to join our AMA, which is happening on July 30th. We hope to see you there, and I'll see you in the future.